Hello and welcome to the all-new Marvel Roundup, the Southgate Media Group's guide to the Marvel Comics of the Week, part of the Nuff Said podcast. I am Phil Parrish, and joining me as always is...
Charlie Essa!
Alright, got a nice little pal here, so let's start off with Invincible Iron Man number 5.
Bum-ba-da-ba!
If you remember last issue, Riri met Pepper Potts, but then they got attacked by that Techno Golem, and they, there's the hand? I believe so.
Is she associated with the hand? Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think so. But, it opens up, it actually opens up with Riri's mother talking to herself at home, basically saying how she's already lost 2 husbands. She doesn't want to lose Riri, but she knows if she tells her she doesn't want her to be Ironheart, that she'll lose, eventually she'll just leave her and she'll never see her again.
You know what? There's kind of a symbology in Ironheart, man, because it's like, her heart will turn to iron and become cold. So sad.
She even tries to talk to the Tony Stark AI, but it's not there, surprisingly.
What? AIs are supposed to always be there. That's the whole point of an AI.
Wait till the end of the issue. But, yeah.
Oh, okay, we'll get to it.
So then, back at the big fight, Riri called in, I don't know if was it the Stark AI? Someone called in an old Iron Man set of armor, and of course, as we surmised, it was, it had a computer virus or whatever on it, so it takes out the techno, all the armored parts the Techno Golem had, but she must be a master swordsman, because she picks up a sword and says to Riri, do you know how to fight with a sword? And that brings up a memory for Riri years ago when her stepfather wanted to teach her how to, fence and sword fight, and she said she was too busy because she was working on some tech project or whatever.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
Really? He was a fencer? I mean, I'm not going to say he couldn't have been a fencer, but it's like, boy, that's a convenient memory to not actually have an outcome to be positive. It's like, I could see it's like, well, little did you know, my stepfather was actually the first African-American Olympian fencer. En garde, that would be like, little did you realize I am not left-handed, and neither am I.
As the great little Hellfire says, convenient plot point is convenient.
Yes, well, as I always say, it helps the story.
Yes.
Okay, so because she didn't want to spend time with her stepfather, she did not learn to fight with a sword. So now Riri's dead. So that's a pretty sad way to end this issue.
No, actually, Charlie, she doesn't die because it looks like she's gonna have to fight. But then Pepper takes out the Techno Golem with some of her armor that she got back.
Oh, good old yay rescue armor.
That's when S.H.I.E.L.D. swoops in to clean up, led by your favorite, Phil,
or I mean, my actual favorite is Clay Quartermain, but he's I think dead for the 3rd time this week, and 3rd time might be the charm.
I was gonna say your favorite woman of indeterminate age, Sharon Carter.
Oh, Sharon Carter. Well, if they don't make her look like the Crypt Keeper, that's a good thing.
She actually looks like, I don't know, middle age maybe.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You can have a little more heft here or there, maybe a little not as tight as it once was, maybe even a laugh liner here, but she doesn't look like Agatha Harkness.
But yeah.
Steve Rogers should have looked like Agatha Harkness. Like the one time they actually made Steve Rogers look proper was in a Deadpool comic where they had him in the bathrobe, all hunched over. Every other time, he basically looks like Old Man Logan. Anyway.
So anyway, Sharon's talking to them, and she wants to recruit Riri in the S.H.I.E.L.D. And Riri says, no, sorry. She says, I just think S.H.I.E.L.D. may be the devil, but I'm sure you're a nice person. And, and Sharon says, oh, big Hydra fan, are you? And Riri's like, no, just because I have serious concerns and I think valid criticism of your systemic abuse of power in the name of global protection does not mean I've taken a side against you. Do you really think that if someone doesn't like you, like how you do what you do, they're your enemy?
And you know what the answer to that is? It's like, well, you obviously haven't read ahead yet, little girl. So let me tell you something.
Yes, I know.
This is the comic book universe, and you're about to meet Captain Hydra. So
Yeah, I know.
Oh man. Just think about Deadpool not reading ahead. That's Deadpool's problem, man. He hasn't used his fourth wall sense to just say, "Oh my goodness," because it's out in the Captain America comic books now, so he should know it. I don't know when Deadpool gets his books, so.
So then Riri tells Pepper, thanks for the talk. We should talk again soon. She takes off, goes home. Where she's telling her mother about like the ninja fight, and she probably has to debug her armor. And she tells her mom, "Thank you. I know you're biting your lip about this whole thing, and thank you for being understanding." And that's when Riri looks for the Tony Stark AI, and he's not there. So where is he? In Tony Stark's lab. He's talking to Friday because she's like, "Why are you? You're a virtual projection. Why are you taking your holographic form? We usually only do that to interact with humans." And the Stark AI says, "I'm different than you. I'm not pure intelligence coding. I am the digitized consciousness of an actual human person with all my memories and impulses revolve around actually having a physical form. Instead of a phantom limb, I have a phantom body. It's off-putting."
Yes, because his body's over in cold storage right next to Rhodey's. Those two are going to come out of it, and Rhodey is going to be so mad. He's going to be like, "Really, Tony? You thought this was an answer?" And Tony's going to be like, "Well, look, it wasn't perfect when I put your memories into the other body, but let me tell you, I learned so much from that moment, and that's how I was able to preserve my own self. Just didn't think to go back and help you out. But you know what? Now I can. So yay, conquered death, sort of. So long as I keep the body alive."
But no, the issue ends with Friday saying, "How is Miss Williams doing?" And Tony says, "That's why I wanted to talk to you. There's a better way to do this." And Friday says, "Do what?" And he says, "Protect the good from the bad." And she says, "And what would that be, pray tell?" He says, "I'm sure you've come to the same logical conclusions yourself. It's the humans." Bum, bum, bum.
The what now? What?
The humans.
Oh, Tony, have you gone all native in the AI now?
Bendis.
Oh, Bendis. To quote Gwenpool, Bendis.
Thumbs up. Bendis.
Okay. Yes, I did realize since you have 6 and I only have 4, I think you can do 2 if you want to do another, or you can do 2 somewhere else. We have 2 that go together.
I'll do one. I'll do another one now.
Okay.
Extraordinary X-Men number 20. It's like a cleanup issue since X-Men Prime is coming out next week, I believe. Because that's exactly what they're doing. Storm's overseeing the X-Men are taking all the mutant refugees out of limbo. They're all going home now that the threat of the Terrigen Cloud is gone.
Yay!
And then now
and no. So wait. So just to rewind. So is there no more Terrigen, or is the Terrigen recrystallized and now the Inhumans have it, or what's the? How is this poorly written reason for these people to fight currently resolved or not resolved? Just out of curiosity.
I didn't read the miniseries. I'm trying to remember. Did they destroy it? I don't know. But either way, it's not out in the it's not free floating anymore. It's either destroyed or they recrystallized it or something.
Okay.
The mutants feel free to go back to Earth.
Okay, so good.
And it's basically like, what's our next step? I don't know. And then they get a week.
The blue area of the moon is just sitting there. It's actually a pretty cool place to be. Especially now that they got all the Inhumans out.
Well, didn't they say the Inhumans are going back into space soon?
Well, they're not going to go back to the moon.
No.
They're probably going to go to Hala and take over, because aren't they like officially the royal family of Hala now?
Probably. I don't think there's much left. I don't think there's much left of the Kree. Didn't they get bombed big time? Probably.
Yeah, I don't know. At one point, Reed Richards took over the Supreme Intelligence.
Oh, it's a mess. It's going to be a mess then.
Oh, well, you know that bomb throwing lunatic.
That universe throwing lunatic.
Ugh, yeah, that too. Anyway, where were we? Oh, Richard's line. It's a trouble.
So anyway, the X-Men are like, "What's our next step?" But then they're getting some kind of distress signal from South Dakota.
South Dakota.
Yeah, sound familiar? So Old Man Logan and Jean Grey and
Oh,
Ford.
him.
Yeah, and Jean Grey and
Old Man Logan and young girl Jean Grey.
Yeah, and their chaperone Forge and some of the other kids go to check it out.
Yeah, they need a chaperone, those two.
And then they get attacked by these weird sentinels that look like insects. And then I guess it's a barn. They go inside, and the Cerebra's in there, and like an old Sentinel body. Because I guess during the miniseries, during the war, they thought Cerebra was destroyed, but she beamed her consciousness out, and then like the closest Sentinel body she could find. And I guess
wait, Cerebro an AI or a person?
Cerebra. I guess she's some kind of AI. Okay. Seems like a version of Cerebro with like a consciousness.
Okay,
she's usually like in a Sentinel body. Yeah.
That's probably where they're going to put Charles Xavier's brain eventually.
Maybe, but well, the Cerebra's body was destroyed. That's why she beamed in this old Sentinel, and I guess this place was I guess Emma Frost was building her own Sentinels during the war.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, but Logan says, have you seen Emma? And Cerebra says, no one's been here. And then, do you know Martha? She's like a floating, like a brain in a bottle almost.
Sure, I'll go along with it.
Yeah, but I guess she had like a slightly bigger robotic body that has almost looks like an egg with Otto Octavius octopus arms on it. So Cerebra downloads her consciousness into that.
Wasn't that Nanny from the short-lived Inferno crossover with the Avengers?
Kind of, sort of. Yeah, but it looks the egg part looks it, but yeah, it's not Nanny, but
okay, yeah, I remember that character because she was in the Avengers when Reed and Sue were on the Avengers with Gilgamesh, back before he got all fat.
Yeah. So anyway, they all go back to X.
By the way, just as a point of order, 8,000 years he stays ripped, and then 2 weeks after he leaves the Avengers, he gets fat. I don't know what's up with that, but okay.
Hey, what were you talking about last week with Star-Lord on Super Connectivity? The donuts, man.
Fair enough. You don't think about it affecting immortal beings and Eternals, but I guess donuts, the eternal donut is hard to resist.
The Dunkin' Donuts is a strong game, my friend.
No, man. Tim Hortons or Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme is good down south. You go north, you get the best at Tim's, and the coffee at Tim's is phenomenal. So you get the Tim's, donuts, and the coffee, and that is ambrosia pure and simple. That's why Canada doesn't invade anywhere. Canada is like a frozen tundra. Most people live in frozen tundras, they want to invade everywhere. But Canada's no, man, we're cool. We're cool because they got the freaking best donuts and coffee, man. They're hey, we don't need to go nowhere. We got poutine, we got donuts, we got coffee. We're good. We don't need to invade your lands. And then they go, oh, we're just a lame old country. You don't want to come here. It keeps the Americans out because those guys, watch out for them.
All right, so let's get back to the book A. So the X-Men reunite at X-Haven. Everyone else is gone, and they're like, well, what are we going to do now? And what do they do, Charlie? In X-Men tradition, they have a baseball game.
Oh, I thought they were gonna time travel.
Not that tradition.
Okay.
Yeah, the issue ends,
baseball.
The issue ends with the game because, like I said, I believe it's next week. X-Men Prime comes out where we find out where everyone goes from here.
Yeah, that's another holdover from the shooter era, I believe. Everyone plays baseball.
Yeah. I think that was early. Wasn't that early Claremont or whatever?
Yeah. But I think I want to say that was a shooter influence because Shooter was the guy who did the big softball game between Marvel and DC every year.
Oh, okay.
And started that tradition, yeah. So I want to say maybe it is Claremont. I don't know.
But
we just know it wasn't burned because if it was burned, it'd be hockey. Because he's Canadian, and he'll vouch for Tim Hortons donuts. I promise you.
All right, but that's a thumbs up. So, Charlie, what book would you like to get into now?
Okay, well, after such a delightful, fun-loving book about donuts, let's move on to Hulk number 4. You know, man, here's what I'm gonna say, man. You know, here's what I'm gonna say. There are books that are done right, and Hulk is a book done right, where they want to do something very experimental, which is have a book about a person who suffered trauma
Mm-hmm.
in a superhero universe, but make it engaging and believable and enjoyable every minute of it. And you know, as people will write, and how do you have a Hulk book without a Hulk? You know, because hey, no She-Hulk yet, or even Hulk yet in the first 4 issues. I don't miss her. I do not miss She-Hulk. I am loving Jen Walters' story. I'm loving her dealing with the moments, and it's all about moments. It is just fantastic. You get her reading Ms. Bruin's file. We get a weird little conversation, which I have to assume is something someone said in the bullpen at some point. If I'm going to eat a pizza, I'm going to eat a pizza on my own terms. You know, it says truth, says the hipster next to him. With poor Jen Walters in the middle, and I do love this moment of her looking at her wardrobe, and you just know that, like, you know, most of those clothes don't fit her.
Yes.
You know, and we kind of see this when you see her with a very long scarf and the big coat. That her clothes are probably very ill-fitting. We see that when Ms. Bruin was attacked, she was apparently attacked by the Hand. So. That's pretty crazy. She had a rough trauma when, of course, Jen was having a similar rough trauma. We see her, man, in the darkness, calling out to the voice that says, yes, will you protect me? Oh, we see Jen Walters and handsome Josh Gad having their conversation.
Ooh.
We see one of her new clients who's upset because, you know, look, you know what? I get it. I'm a giant. It's not like I've never broken a chair, but then don't bring me special freaking chairs and then get all bent out of shape when I smash them into itty bitty pieces. So yeah, then I socked him. So you see, she's in trouble because she socked him, not because she broke the chair. So again, it's. Exactly. You're a giant. We get that. This is a world with giants in the earth and on top of the earth and all over the earth. You realize that's like not even a toy chihuahua in her hand. That's like a full-size chihuahua. You know, and Jen is like, you know, we will deal with this when we can. Big money in gianting, apparently, though. I don't know if she was rich before she was a giant, but she's certainly doing well now with that fur coat and tiny dog. We basically come back down to Ms. Bruin's apartment, which is full of the creepy. We see the old janitor, who is like, you know, he's there to clean the walls, but, you know, directs Jen how to get to Ms. Bruin's apartment because all the numbers are screwy. Because basically, this universe is basically an Escher drawing. This apartment building is now an Escher drawing. Because, you know, Omega level Inhumans, they just happen. Meanwhile, they find the 2 detectives who were investigating Tick's murder, and they have likewise been all murder related. We see Ms. Bruin and Jen Walters sort of have a conversation. Jen is really trying hard to connect with her because where she was in coma, she has this trauma, she has all this stuff. But of course, Ms. Bruin, she was never She-Hulk. Her dealing with this trauma is much darker.
Mm-hmm.
And when she invokes her power, the beast within the darkness says yes. And Jen says, no, no, no. You see it coming, you feel it coming, not because you can stop it, but because it's there waiting for you no matter what you do. Oh, voice, shut up. You know, and it is a big, scary junk monster. It is the trash heap has spoken, and it has big teeth. You know what? I'm gonna wager next issue we do get our Hulk. We do get our big gray She-Hulk, busting out of clothing. 42617 kids, be there or be square. If you are not paying $3.99 for this book, you ought to be, because it is worth it. Big thumbs up for Hulk.
Oh
Number
yeah,
4.
thumbs up. You know how good this book is? It's like every month I look so forward to it, and it's like when you think about it, our main character hasn't really used her powers yet. We're 4 issues in, she hasn't used her powers yet, and yet this book is so good.
You know what, man? You know what? You're right. I'm gonna make this the pick of the week. I'm yeah. You know what? Because I'm thinking about everything else. It's great, honestly, and this is just such a solid week.
Mm-hmm.
But I love when someone gives it. You know, it's like why I love Occupy Avengers, because that's a rough climb. It's a rough climb when you're trying to make a Hawkeye book interesting, and dang it, David Walker does. You know, that is an interesting book, and I am glad to read it every week. Only Avengers book I'm still reading right now, even though I love both Uncanny and US, but you know, cuts have to be made, and Occupy is still on the list because David Walker is really great. And Hulk, here's someone said, "Oh, I got an idea. Let's do a Hulk book without the Hulk. Let's have it about how much body horror is involved in being a Hulk, and let's explore that." And really, these first 4 issues. Think about it, is all about that body horror. It is all about this idea of violation, of defeat, of weakness. You know, I once got beat up by an older brother who was having a lot of problems at the time, and I was trying to be a noble guy in the moment, and you feel so broken and violated over it. And you know, that is where She-Hulk is, where Hulk is she has been, you know, not violated in that most pedestrian of sense, but just violated in the fact that she found herself powerless.
Mm-hmm.
And when you walk into a room shoulders first most of your life, and then you find yourself powerless, that is devastating. And, you know, it is the strength of storytelling that they've kept this story going. A Hulk story with no Hulks, no smashing, just a weird little mystery in the background and a little bit of legalese. And that's enough to make a great book. And so, yeah, Hulk is my pick of the week. I'm going with it. I'm gonna just toss it out there. I was thinking, because I'm thinking as I'm talking about it, it's like, this is a great book. Should I really pick the pick of the week? Because Ultimates is great and Thor is great. And, you know, probably Ultimates would have been my second, you know, and Cap is great and Thor is really good too. But yeah, you know what? Hulk is the one that has the least popcorn, the least bish and bang, and it's really the best book. So yeah, that's my big thumbs up. My big thumbs up for the Hulk, number 4 this week. Pick of the week.
All right, then I guess I will go to Black Panther number 12.
Oh, I haven't been reading that. I hope it was good.
Well, this was like the wrap up to the, you know, all the past 11 issues. You know, I thought the Civil War is over, but everyone's like arguing and debating how they should go forward. And after a lot of talk, prepare for a lot of talk in this issue, but
yeah.
But when they're done, I guess the decision is made. Eventually, there's going to be a council, and that will turn into a government elected by Wakandans, and the creed shall be no one man. But T'Challa is still going to be the king, more like a figurehead.
Yeah, we can have a constitutional monarchy. That's common.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Ask England.
Yeah, I know.
But
though I always wonder what would happen if the Queen ever decided not to give her assent to a certain law. Like, does she have that veto power? Or I don't know enough about England's legal system to know.
Yeah,
or what is required to overcome that, you know?
Yeah, but when you're living the luxurious lifestyle with the Queen of England, are you really going to say no to a lot of stuff? Do we really want to rock that boat?
Yeah, well, true that. Because, you know, she is literally a welfare queen. All of her money comes from the state, you know?
Because I mean, if it was something major, but I don't see England making any rash decisions like, hey, let's bomb China or something.
Well, yeah. Well, even that, I mean, well, again, like I said with the Queen, it's like, you know, do we want to defund Buckingham Palace?
Mm-hmm. So, and then towards the end of this issue, T'Challa is telling his mother, all of this, and she's saying he seems changed, his conviction seems to have returned, and then the issue ends. T'Challa gets all dressed up, all spiffy, and has Eden teleport him somewhere. Where does he go at the end of the issue, Charlie?
Harlem to hang out with the crew, because that's his next book.
Close. I'm assuming X-Haven, because he goes to see Storm.
Ooh. Hello, Aunt Agnes. Now, here's a quick question for you. Why is T'Challa the king and not Shuri the queen?
I don't know if they give an answer to that, but
because first off, Shuri was the last person to sit on the throne, and now that everyone's all back from the dead, not for nothing, I think she right now has like the better power set, is more tied to this idea of no one man. I mean, I think if you want a philosopher queen leader, it's Shuri over freaking T'Challa. Although maybe that's the argument, is T'Challa because he doesn't really want to be king. He just wants to be a superhero. I want to be a superhero. Maybe that's why he's the better choice to be king, because he is less interested in being king and more interested in being a superhero. So long as they continue to fund his superheroing, they can pretty much, the people can run the country.
Yeah, I don't think they get in the specifics, but I don't think Shuri wants the throne.
Yeah, maybe she's ascended beyond that sort of thing. Maybe she's now a goddess.
Yeah, but here's my question. So World of Wakanda comes out April 19th. The next issue of Black Panther comes out April 26th, and they said also next month Black Panther and the Crew #1. Does Black Panther really need 3 books? And I'm not 3 monthly books, and I'm not disparaging Black Panther. At this point, does any Marvel character need like 3 regular ongoing books?
Well, what he has is a team book, which is the Crew. He has his primary book, which is Black Panther. And then you have a secondary book set his universe. So, as an example, Spider-Man has how many books right now?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel that way about everybody.
Not counting his team books.
Yeah, there shouldn't be that many Spider-Man books either. There's just, instead of giving people,
but Peter Parker's not in all of them. That's the point. Is that
that's true? Yeah.
So World of Wakanda, it's about the Midnight Angels.
Okay.
And the Crew is going to be about the Crew, and Black Panther is about Black Panther. So you actually have one Black Panther book. You have a secondary book that is tangential to Black Panther, but is probably going to wind up. First off, it's about the Midnight Angels, and maybe that's where we're going to see Shuri do a lot of her, be the grand goddess of Wakanda shtick. And then you're gonna have, Black Panther. So honestly, it's not that overwhelming. It's just shocking because they gave the black guy 3 books.
I just think like I said,
that's not to make a disparagement against you. It's just to say, it's shocking because we've never seen that before. But if you think about it, you had Cap in like 6 different Avengers books, plus his secondary characters. You had the Fantastic Four, and then you had a Thing book that is officially a Fantastic Four book. True. So you've had these things. And like I said, Spider-Man has had multiple books for a while. Oh, yeah. And Black Panther and Luke Cage, for what it's worth, are kind of Marvel's hot properties outside of white male superheroes.
Yes.
So they do want to push that. They do want to say, we have diversity. As an interesting example, CBR is doing a, in Black History Month, they had every week or every couple of days they do, 15 best African American whatevers or 15 best black whatevers, and now they're doing like best female, because March is Women's Month, Women's History Month, like best female things, and they did like the best female supergroups, only one Marvel supergroup on that, A-Force, and they completely skipped over Fearless Defenders, which I called them out on, but no one's responded to me on that. But it is this fact that Marvel wants to make sure that they do have that diverse portfolio. That if you are someone who wants to read about African American heroes, You can't say, "Oh, I'm just going to go to those indie books over there," because Marvel's got African American heroes, and they're not going to squelch them just for any reason. And quite frankly, if any of these books die, you're going to see other not African Americans. Well, the crew is African Americans, but the rest are all African heroes. You're going to have that because, I do think Black Panther at this moment in time, and now next year maybe not so much. Maybe next year after Spider-Man comes out, we're going to get more Spider-Man books. But at this moment, there is a lot of buzz around Black Panther. So 3 books is not insane. I think a lot of characters have had multiple books before, especially when you count their team books.
Well, I just think Wolverine. Well, like you said,
X-Men Avengers and a Wolverine book. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, like you said, Black Panther is hot, especially after Civil War, and I understand that. And with a lot of Marvel's moves, it just seems like it's not organic. It just seems like, let's.
You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
But I was just saying.
You got to get new headphones though.
Yeah, I think. But no, I was just saying it. I mean, the 3 books felt organic, but just like with a lot of Marvel's moves, like even the Spider-Man stuff, it just seems like they're trying to cash in, instead of. I know it's a business, but.
Yeah.
And
there are political moves being made. Like World of Wakanda was because they got called out on it hardcore. They never had any women writers of color.
Yeah.
The closest they had was G. Willow Wilson, who was a white woman who converted to Islam. That was as close as they had gotten to a woman of color, which is not a woman of color by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a woman who is in a minority group. So then they had to do something. They had to do something big. And they went to their biggest name outside of comics, who is Ta-Nehisi Coates. And Ta-Nehisi Coates said, you should get Roxane Gay to write a comic. Mm-hmm. And so they brought in Roxane Gay, and they gave her World of Wakanda. So that's why World of Wakanda exists. Because Marvel had to answer a weakness in their portfolio. Mm-hmm. And then the crew was always going to happen. So the way to think about World of Wakanda is that is something necessary to round out their portfolio. Something good may come of that. I actually really loved World of Wakanda. If I had more money, I would certainly still be reading World of Wakanda. Because like I said, I love this idea of a romance comic set in the superhero universe. Much in the way that I love the way the Hulk is this comic book about personal trauma set in a superhero universe. Mm-hmm. This idea that you can do these traditional comics, these other versions of comics outside of traditional superhero punch 'em ups, but still have interesting superheroic stories going on. That is what I think is beautiful. So I do think World of Wakanda deserves the praise it gets. If it's still getting praise, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not reading it anymore because I have too many books. And, I loved it, but, I had to pick which had to go. And that was one of the ones that had to go.
Mm-hmm. But no, like I'm just saying, it just seems like, forced because that's the hot thing. Because this week also I have Prowler #6. It's the last issue, so Prowler's not going on, and another character of color, but he's not going on. But it just feels like they're pushing Black Panther because he's in a movie. Yeah, well, I know.
Not for nothing. Who cares about Prowler? That's the thing. It's like this: if you are Prowler, first off, Prowler is a C-list hero to start. Mm-hmm. He is essentially the high jumping frogman. Okay, literally, he is the high jumping frogman because he has the exact same pneumatic springs in his Spring Heel Jack boots, which is again just a ripoff of Spring Heel Jack. The oldest actually anti-hero supervillain character.
Yeah, but if he was in a big, say he was in Spider-Man Homecoming, all of a sudden you'd be getting, Prowler book would be going on and on. You'd be getting Prowler something on an Avengers team.
You're not going to get Prowler in Spider-Man Homecoming. You're not going to get that character because there's too much backstory that goes into it. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. The Midnight Angels were something that they could just throw out, ready to go. There's not a backstory. There's not a core. They have a backstory in the existence of the Black Panther and the Major Gay. Was it Major Day or Major Gay? I forget exactly how it was pronounced. But anyway, his elite female guard. A little creepy that too, but we'll go on from there. They do call it out at least once. And it is this thing, and yeah, Prowler probably could be a better book, but they don't have Roxane Gay and Ta-Nehisi Coates writing that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. They went to Ta-Nehisi Coates and said, "Hey, would you like to write a comic book?" And he could have picked, not for nothing. Ta-Nehisi Coates could have come in and said, "I want to write Luke Cage. I want to write Isaiah Bradley and make him a hero. I want to write Elijah Bradley and make him a hero. I want to write Tilda Johnson, make her a hero." He could have picked any of the characters that everybody else had available to them. I'm sure the only thing they said was, "Look, dude, we kind of want you to write an African-American character, not because you're African-American and a writer, but because we kind of need a really strong African-American character. We're going to recommend the Black Panther because he has this big role in the movies coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But quite frankly, we also have Luke Cage on the Netflix. So if you want to do that, we totally get that and we'll back you. If you want to do Sam Wilson, who we're making Captain America, we will kick Nick Spencer to the curb." Love you, Nick. But, let's face it, if Ta-Nehisi Coates wanted to write Captain America Sam Wilson, they would have let him because he is the Genius Grant guy that they hired to be their Genius Grant guy.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting very super connective in all this, Phil, so I don't want to take up all of our Roundup time right now. So, but I mean, to give you the explanation, that's the explanation. It is that they needed these black characters, they needed these black concepts put forward because they do need to address this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Diversity, it's like good for business and good for society. There's not really a downside unless you want to, cry about being a fanboy,
Mm-hmm.
And so when they say, "Oh, they're doing diversity for diversity's sake," it's like, yes, exactly, because they haven't had diversity, so now we need to do diversity for diversity's sake. Once we have a lot of diversity, you no longer have to do diversity for diversity's sake because diversity just continues on. You're still going to get these guys who love these characters,
Mm-hmm.
in the way that Tilda Johnson is a character that if I had ever come to Marvel, I would have totally written the heck out of.
Ooh.
Because, see, for me, she'd still be in the leather bikini with the poofball hair. But
Mm-hmm.
that's me because that's where I'm coming from. But I love that character. So, yeah, that kind of character is going to get its play. But when you got to build out that diversity, you have to build out that diversity because if you don't have it to start, you have to step up to it. So Black Panther has 3 books. Honestly,
well, 4 if you count 4 if you count Ultimates.
There you go. His second team book.
Yeah.
So he's got one team book that's all African Americans, one team book that is a diverse group that looks like America, as they say, and his personal book, and then a secondary book that just takes place in his country that he isn't really a part of.
Yeah. Well,
because in all honesty, when I was reading World of Wakanda, not really a lot of Black Panther in it. It's about Wakanda.
Yeah. Well,
it's as if you wrote a book about Latveria, which actually, honestly, someone should freaking write because that sounds like a great place to explore the world, especially in our modern age.
Well, yeah.
But there's not as many times.
Yeah. Well, now that we talk about it, it makes it's making more sense to me. They're making Black Panther Marvel's Batman. So.
Oh man, he is so much better than Batman.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that business model.
Please don't reduce a character like Black Panther to a Batman.
Just the business model, throw this popular character in all these projects.
Yeah. Batman. Batman's cool. And Batman does go cosmic, and he fights the big stuff. But then he's really obsessed with that little 2-block radius of Gotham. He's Daredevil. He's Daredevil and the Black Panther. So you could say he's better than the Black Panther because he's Daredevil and the Black Panther. He has his Hell's Kitchen, where he beats up people. Then he goes fights and then he goes and punches Darkseid. Because if you're Batman, you've got to be the one to punch Darkseid. You can't let everyone else punch Darkseid. It's like, okay.
All right.
Actually, I don't know Batman never punched Darkseid. So I may just hate on DC just because it's a Marvel podcast.
All right.
Let's move on. So
yeah, Black Panther 12 thumbs up. So Charlie, where do you want to go?
let's do Thor the Unworthy.
All right.
The Unworthy. We open up with the Unseen talking to himself about how he is Nick Fury, but he's not Nick Fury. He doesn't have the same emotions Nick Fury had. He's a cosmic being now. He's one all-seeing eye. We cut to Thor at Asgard with the hammer, and he grabs it, and he sees, I am Thor, I am the mighty Thor, the god of thunder, and this is not my hammer. And then you see Proxima Midnight, and here's what I'm going to say. This issue, they didn't do this before. I would have caught it before. They start writing the hooded figure with an Asgardian accent.
Ah.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed that, Phil, but I noticed that up until this moment, they didn't give her the curls on her tees to denote an Asgardian accent.
And I don't think they even mentioned it was a female either.
No, and you really don't know that it's a female just yet. You don't really get that, because even when they show the character's body, I mean, it's a muscular body. It doesn't necessarily have to be a female muscular's body. Man, the Collector comes off really bad in this issue. Let me just say that right up front. Thori comes out great, though. We do love Thori. Thori is like one of the best characters here. Battle. Thor basically defeats everyone. Thanks to his amazing powers, they naturally escaped unharmed. He is Thor. Odin's son is the Brown Hornet of the Marvel Universe. Basically uses the hammer. He doesn't lift the hammer, but he just grabs the hammer and says, "Yo, hammer, do this." And so lightnings everybody and then teleports Asgard back to where it's supposed to be. Because that is just what hammers do, man. We see the last of... Thor, of course, frees all the animals within the kingdom, so they're all now roaming Asgard. And, the Collector says, "Bring me something unique and beautiful so I can watch it die." Which is like, dude, you're like the worst collector. Because, like, a collector, this is my Fantastic Four #1. Let me never touch it and just gaze upon it in awe. No, Collector's the guy who says, give me that mint condition Fantastic Four #1. Now let me go to the bathroom so no one else can enjoy this ever. He's a He is a horrible person, and not at all the collect. Honestly, I think he's going to die soon now, because I think he's just gotten tired of collecting. Honestly, if I was to read this, I would say, as an old school Marvel reader, I know the entire reason they get to live forever is because they had that combat against death, obsession against death. But at this point, the Collector isn't even obsessed with collecting anymore. He just wants to. He just wants to say, "I was the last who got to see this. He wants to shoot the last the last rhino on Earth, and it's like, dude, that ain't cool, man. That ain't cool. We see the people, the Hooded Figure and Proxima Midnight and the Black Swan return to Thanos, who's like, dude, did you think I was going to be, you returned to me empty-handed? Do you think I was going to be nice because I got in prison? No, quite the opposite. But then we realize who the Hooded Figure is. Phil, who's the Hooded Figure?
Hela,
yeah. And, again, I'm going to point out that, man, I mean, I don't know where we're going with this, but we'll get to that in the Ultimates. Basically, Hela says, hey, man, you and me and Death, we can all have a threesome. And Thanos is like, down with that, dude. Not for nothing. That's what that scene is. It's like, Hela's like, hey, man, I know Death. And he's like, ooh, I got a thing for her. It's like, well, then, how about you and me make out? Let's see if she comes in, man. We're going to have a little crazy time. Party. Meanwhile, Asgard's back where it used to be, apparently, which is a point in dimensional space. And Thor's like, yep, me and the hammer, we're cool here.
Mm.
And Gore the God Butcher was right. That was the big secret. Gods aren't worthy. They're kind of jerks. It's like, duh. You know,
Okay,
it's like
so
not for
that
nothing.
was,
Like, oh, that's the secret. That's the big whisper. It's like,
yeah, I
oh,
know. That was my problem. I was like, so basically, what the worthiness enchantment on the hammer depends on how Thor feels, because I mean, he was just as unworthy before Fury said that, but once he said it, all of a sudden he couldn't pick up the
well,
hammer.
the point of it is, and this is the point of it. Thor can pick up all these hammers.
Mm-hmm.
Thor's like the one god who's actually freaking worthy. That's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
point.
Mm-hmm.
But he knows that because no god is worthy, he is not worthy. And for what it's worth, the reason why Jane Foster can pick it up is not because she's a god, but because she's a mortal.
Mm.
A mortal can pick up these hammers because the mortal's worthiness is by its nature bound by its own finiteness of existence. Now, in truth, Norse gods actually do have finite existences. They do age and they do die. Although that can be said for other gods too. Although the Greek gods tend to be eternally young, though they can die. But as Phobos once said, it's different for gods. And actually, I think that might have been Ares who said that too. Phobos is that it's different for gods. We die, we come back. It's not a simple one for one life and death. It is a much more complex presentation. But we see that basically Thor's now the cat lady of the Omniverse.
No.
He's got an Asgard full of crazy animals, and he's cool with that. And him and Beta Ray Bill are drinking beer. And then who should come up? Hooded figure number 2.
No.
Because Thor will not lift the hammer, but he says, "Well, but whoever wants to lift this hammer is going to go through me." And then someone comes and lifts the hammer. Because, yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. So Hooded figure is our next big mystery. Now, there are 3 immediate characters I can think of. Phil, can you think of 3, or can you only think of 2?
I can think of 3. I don't know if we're thinking. Well, I know at least one we're thinking the same because we mentioned it.
Yeah, we're both
today.
thinking Thunderstrike.
Mm-hmm.
Thunderstrike is the first we're thinking of, which is, what's his name? Something Masters or Masterson or...
Eric Masterson.
Eric Masterson, yes. So Thunderstrike is the first one, and that's the obvious. That's the gimme. And so that might be who it is, because, people aren't as creative as, the writers are never as creative as the fans. One thing you'll always learn when you read a lot.
Yeah, and the 90s are making a big comeback, so.
90s nostalgia, man. It's been 26 years since the start of the 90s. So people who are who are children in the 90s now have disposable income, so they're buying comic books. So yes, the 90s nostalgia is a thing. Goodness help us all. 90s, man, it was cool. It was the best music ever. But
Oh yeah.
that was when it was ours, man. Now it's just retreads of it, and it's like, it used to be cooler,
It's all auto tune.
Yeah, even auto tune, auto tune I'm sure started in the 90s too. Everything started in the 90s. Computer revolutions, man. Electronic music. Okay, all the way back to the 80s.
Who are our other suspects?
Anyway, well, do you want to give your second suspect? I'll give mine. And if yours is different than my second suspect, I'll give my third, and then you can give your third if that's different than mine. Okay, so who's your next suspect?
All right, the next likely one, I think it could be, what's his name? Red Norvell.
Oh, Red Norvell. I hadn't even thought of him. Red Norvell.
Because on that last page, doesn't it look like that figure's wearing gloves? Didn't he wear gloves at a certain point? I think in his first appearance he might have. Mm-hmm.
No, refresh my memory on Red Norvell. I know that's not Thor 2099. Who's Red Norvell?
He was a mortal guy, I think. He was like a cameraman for some news station. I think in the original story, Loki kind of tricked him into taking this. He basically gave him the belt of power and something else, so he was able to pick up Thor's hammer, and he became a crazy Thor. And then he seemed to be dead, but then in the 90s they brought him back when Odin and Thor were fighting. Odin needed a replacement Thor, so he brought Red Norvell back.
Oh, okay. So you know what? Honestly, Honestly, right now that's my number one because I had actually forgotten about him.
Mm.
Hadn't even been thinking about. I knew Red Norvell. I knew he held the hammer, but I couldn't remember exactly what his story was. So there we go.
And again, he made a comeback in the '90s. So once again, '90s nostalgia.
Yeah. Now, okay, so that's Red Norvell.
Mm-hmm.
That is now. So my other two.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with the one that I know is likely not it.
Yes.
But Red Norvell does sound good because he's a cameraman and he does say all the things I've seen. So right there, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Phil. I think we're going to say that is most likely. So right now we're giving a 1-to-1 odds. You give us 50, we'll give you 50 back if it's Red Norvell.
Hey, I've got a good track record with these mystery Thors. So.
You know, I will say we're going to give 2-to-1 on Eric Masterson.
Okay.
Now this is your I'm gonna give 10-to-1. I'm gonna give 10-to-1 on Ragnarok.
Oh.
Because Ragnarok's still alive. The reason Ragnarok is 10-to-1, the reason why Ragnarok is not a gimme, is because Ragnarok already has a hammer.
Hmm.
Ragnarok picked up a hammer in the Dark Avenger storyline where they were in this alternate pocket dimension where all the heroes had been destroyed and all this kind of craziness occurred, and Tony Stark was a freaking brain in a box because Tony Stark was freaking always evil. He's just waiting for a reason to be more evil. You know, when Red Skull did that inversion thing, that was like, you know, it's like it was kind of like, hey, you want to turn evil for a soda? Sure. It's like, come to the dark side. We have cookies. You know, I mean, literally, that was all it took. But Ragnarok picks up the old Thor's hammer, and he becomes a different Thor. He becomes this sort of almost like sort of a classic Norse Thor, where he's got a red beard, and you know, and that was that Thor. Yeah. So that was a different kind of Thor, and so that would be Ragnarok there. And personally, I would love to see Ragnarok come back. You know, I still want to know what's going on with John Walker. Since his last appearance, he was under the thrall of Toxie, who is still out there in limbo. So there's like a lot of deep dives out there that we can all explore. But I would love to see Ragnarok come back. If nothing else, I just want to see him kick some Thor ass. Oh, sorry, some Thor butt. That was our one. PG-13. You know, saying, you know, you guys all forgot about me, but I'm a Thor too. I got a hammer too. Got a lot of these hammers laying around right now. Because Doom built about a bunch of them too.
Okay, I got a long shot. It might be like, I don't know, 50-to-1 maybe.
Yeah. So what do you got?
What if it's like some version of Don Blake?
That was my fourth too, or my third too. Yeah, Don Blake. I mean, yeah, Don Blake. I'm gonna give 2-to-1, 2-to-1 on Don Blake. Don Blake is a logical option because he got called out in the Secret Wars storyline, which likewise had you know, this question of worthiness and Thors and what kind of Thors are out there.
Because wasn't there a story just a few years ago where Don Blake was back, but he was like kind of crazy? I think didn't he want to like rebond with Thor, and Thor was like, no, that's okay.
Yeah, well, but basically what happened with that was he got beheaded by Hela, and then his body got turned into the Executioner. So that's the only other reason why Don Blake's kind of a downer, but it could be another version of Don Blake from another universe.
Oh yeah, this
Don
is all
Blake
after
was seen
Secret
a lot.
Wars. Yeah,
you know. So yeah, so the War Thor could be Don Blake. It could be the mortal man who has picked up the hammer.
But I'm thinking that's
so
a long
that
shot.
Is. You know what? Like I said, I don't think that's as a long shot as Ragnarok. Ragnarok, I think, is the big long shot because Ragnarok already has a hammer. Red Norvell, I mean, from what you said, Red Norvell sounds like, oh, well, that's obvious. You know, like I said. So I think, what did I say? I gave, did I give 1-to-1 on Red Norvell or did I give 2-to-1?
Was he 2-to-1? I know. One of them was 1-to-1 and one was 2-to-1. I can't remember if it was Red Norvell or Thunderstrike.
So I'm gonna say so. Yeah. So Thunderstrike, I think, is the 1-to-1. Thunderstrike is the obvious one. Red Norvell is obscure enough but obvious enough that he's a 2-1. And Don Blake, I'm going to say, is likewise 2-1. He's an obvious choice, but you might not think of him right off the back. And then, like I said, Ragnarok, he's an obvious choice, but he is actually a deeper dive. Now, actually, I'll give you a fifth one. I don't even know the character's name, but the fifth one would have to be Thor 2099. Because we have the 2099 guys hanging out in the current universe.
Yeah.
And if there's anyone who's seen a lot, it's got to be Thor 2099. Because he's seen the world destroyed, he's seen craziness, he's seen monsters and villains. So the idea that Thor 2099 might show up, might find himself on Asgard, might see a hammer calling to him. It's entirely possible, man. That's all I'm saying.
Oh man, I just keep thinking of more suspects. I mean, there's been so many iterations of Thor. It just.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could, and honestly, it could be Willie Lumpkin. We don't know. I mean, Willie Lumpkin, he fought in the war, man. He's seen a lot,
Yeah.
Honestly, Willie Lumpkin Thor. There you go. He wiggles his ears, which causes hurricanes. Okay, we still got like many books to do, Phil. You want to move on from Thor?
Yes, I knew that was gonna happen. All right, I guess I'll move on to the book Charlie pooped on earlier, Prowler number 6.
I didn't poop on it. I am not Triumph Insult Comic Dog. I'm just saying that if you're going to say who's the bigger character, Black Panther, Luke Cage, or
bigger
Prowler,
than Black Panther. Yeah.
No, you're not going to say that Prowler is bigger than Black Panther. You're not going to say, honestly, Prowler is equal to Tilda Johnson. Honestly, that Tilda Johnson doesn't have her own separate book, and Prowler doesn't have his book, has his book. That's the big travesty here, that Tilda Johnson has to, like so much Black Widow, walk along on your book, Mr. Man, rather than having her own awesome book. That is the tragedy of the Prowler. That the Prowler gets his own book is like, oh, really, Prowler? Okay. So now I'm pooping on the Prowler. He's a good superhero for me to poop on.
Jeez. Okay, anyway, Prowler number 6. It opens up. It's a big send off issue because they kind of flash between Hobie Brown talking to Peter Parker and saying, basically Peter's telling him everything that happened during the clone conspiracy, and Hobie's like, how do you know how much longer to do this? Which it seemed he didn't come out and say it, but it seemed like between the lines he was asking him, about his career as Spider-Man, and I didn't think Prowler knew Peter was Spider-Man even still. It just, I don't know, it was very confusing. But then they show the Prowler taking down the Vulture. Then he's taking down this gang of thieves, and then they show Peter and Hobie talking again, and he's like, I don't want you to go a certain way, which I don't know if it's like a possible future or if it's supposed to be the past. But then it's the two of them fighting, because then they show Hobie going home, and he's like greeted by a wife and 2 kids, but then that's just all in his head. He's in his apartment alone. So kind of a bummer ending, the Prowler. It's kind of sad.
Is that maybe like an alternate universe thing? Like maybe in another, like in that universe where he was part of the Defenders, is that supposed to be like where he had a wife and kids?
I don't know, because it just to me, it seemed like reading it was just him going through, what ifs in his head, and basically, just the ending of the story seems to me that they could take this character whatever direction they want to go. If they don't want him to show up again for a bunch of years, no one would question it. If they want him to show up next month somewhere, no one would question it.
Yeah. See, that's not necessarily a good thing for your character.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what
I know.
I'm saying. as to why his book ends and Black Panther gets 3 books. It's like,
Well, I mean, they really
because
give
one
it. They
person is
really
integral
didn't.
to the Marvel universe,
I
and
know,
one
but I
is not.
mean, he really didn't even get a chance though, because the first 4 or 5 issues of his series, it wasn't really him; it was that clone running around.
Uh, yeah, just like I mean, let's remember, War Machine had been a clone for years until we all find out that that was just a clone. So it's.
I know.
I know. Okay. But no, I mean, I am wondering what's going to be going on with the merging of the universes, because we already know from Jessica Jones there's a lot of craziness with that. There are people who have memories who are not supposed to have memories, and because Franklin isn't careful.
Nope.
And I think Gwenpool is maybe the result of all this too. Which will be sad, because I would hate to think Gwenpool gets erased from the universe as a result. But, the fact of the matter is Gwenpool's also looking for people from her own universe whom she knows. Anyway, you want to move on to the Ultimates?
Sure.
Okay, let's move on to the Ultimates 2. Ultimate Squared. Number something, 5.
5.
We open up with the Never Queen, who is awesome. She is all of the possibilities, as eternity is all the actualities. And then we get Voight's origin as he goes through his life. Winds up in basically your classic Nick Fury, Amanda Waller role. He's the one that gets to make the decisions. They make a call out to change of administrations. And the new administration just don't care. And and in the darkness outside, something laughs at the dead celestials, at the corpse of cosmic justice, at life corrupted into death. It laughs, and it wills its helpers on. Which, not for nothing, if you want to go political, man, that could be a hyper-political book. There's a great story about a French filmmaker during the 1940s who, under Nazi auspices, wrote a great story about basically the resistance against the fascist regime who was occupying the territory, and got it in under the radar because it was just obscure enough that he could defend it, but basically if you wanted to see what he was saying there, you could very easily see it. Kind of see that here with the corruptive forces outside of everything just corrupting everything. Meanwhile, on the floor, Connor Sims, the Anti-Man, says it's coming back, taking everything back into it, taking everything, the one who is one. That is an important line. What we're moving towards, what the bad guy is, we're not quite sure yet. I have 2 possible theories, one obvious, one obscure. Well, neither one is that obscure, but one is what that thing is what we're looking at here. We get a great scene with the battle between the Ultimates and the Troubleshooters. We see Black Panther being Black Panther in his Speedo. Just an awesome guy with his herbal supplements. With his own martial art he calls Shadow Combat. Fusion of Wakandan Kunlun style plus a Dasu Bruce Lee. Your armor is controlled via telekinesis. A strike to your third eye disrupts your chi and your control over it. That's how he defeats the Spitfire. Meanwhile, you see on the astral plane, Monica versus Terry Jessup, Spectrum versus Network. And basically, Spectrum makes the point is like, yeah, we're in my mind, but this is all an illusion because what you don't understand is I'm not the thing you see before you. This is my form that I've created, but I can take any form, and now I'm up into your eyes, and now I have bleeped your brain. Which gets us down to the Rainbow Warrior, Jim. Give it up, Jim. He says, I don't want to fight you. I don't want to fight any of you, but when you're making decisions on the cosmic scale, risking lives, maybe risking universes with no oversight, it says, "Well, I've got my orders." And then America decides to be completely top doogly here and says, "No oversight." He says, "You're in the back of an ambulance, Jim, bleeding out, crashing, minutes, maybe seconds to live. It's the paramedic's job to get you stable." Now, of course, this is this inherent superhero conundrum about, when Doctor Doom's at the gate, man, what you gonna do? Now, in real life, we use the superhero conundrum a lot because we always want to imagine Doctor Doom's at the gate. In real life, Doctor Doom is never at the gate, but in this universe, Doctor Doom is at the gate, so it is fair. And basically, America totally smacks down Rainbow Warrior. And because as she points it out, she's fought him before. She's fought lots of gyms. Tensons. I fought Johns, Jenny's. You come in a lot of flavors. I know what you're supposed to be, warriors of spring, but there are people out there who worship winter, and the snow gets deep. You can lose your way. Who do you work for? And it's pretty cool. And then, of course, Rodstov, we find out he is a servant of the Thing we're going to see. We see Philip Voight be contacted by Terry, who is trying to reach out to him to show him what he saw, shows him Galactus, shows him trouble at foot, and then we see who has chained eternity. And it says, "Nothing can help you now. Your own systems have been corrupted, turned against you. They will devour you from inside out." Again, very political if you want to read it. Real freaking political. This reads like RT propaganda. And I will absorb what scraps of are left of you, eternity, and all will be as it was long ago, before your foul kind, before the universe's 8th and 7th and 6th and 5th and back, dying and being reborn over and over like filthy little organisms. We will return to a saner time when there was but one cosmos, one universe, one reality, one totality. I am the first firmament, and soon I will be the last. Bum, bum, bum. Exciting, delightful, fantastic book. The Ultimates is what the Fantastic Four always should have been, and is just fantastic. Ultimates continues to be a top book every week.
Oh yeah.
The big question is, what is the original Firmament? There is that Japanese god of death who was trying to do that whole shtick before. But I'm going to go one better, man. I think that's what was Frank before Owen. I think that's what the Beyonder was. Because, of course, what my theory is when Owen Reese broke through, he opened that portal to what was the start and brought that into multiplicity. And that's what, in its own way, causes multiplicity. Because the Beyonder came into multiplicity, and then you have the Beyond being multiplied, that in turn is what causes the fracturing of the original firmament into multiplicity. And it is this circular. It is a 8-ball shot into a wormhole that comes out at the point of entry and just goes forever. It is perpetual motion, and I think that's what we're going to get at the end of this. But huge thumbs up for Ultimates. Cosmologically, it's just a top book. Like I said, if they didn't have just such awesome characters, it would be the pick of the week. But Hulk, honestly, playing the long game, I think, is what got it the pick of the week this week. Okay, what's your next book, Phil?
All right. This should be of interest to one of the co-hosts of the Ironcast right here on Enough Said. Iron Fist #1.
Yay! Does he have curly hair? Please tell me they didn't give him curly hair.
No.
Yeah, I will never forgive them for that. Iron Fist doesn't have curly hair. Why would you give him curly hair? That's not what Iron Fist looks like. They could have made him Asian or black, and I'd be less upset than them having him be a white guy with curly hair. You know, even though a black guy would technically have curly hair as well, I would say, okay, but that's because he's black. It's not because they opted to give, Iron Fist freaking curls.
Oh, Charlie Esser, are you judging a man
Iron
on the
Fist
texture of his hair?
A perm. I'm sorry, what?
Are you judging a man on the texture of his hair?
Absolutely. I'm judging. Right. I'm going to judge, man. Let me ask you this. Would you have accepted Daredevil with a perm?
I wouldn't have liked it, but I'd understand it because he's a blind guy. So he probably wouldn't know what his hair looked like half the time anyway.
Fair enough. Here's what I'm going to say. Like in the 70s when Doctor Strange had a perm, it was the 70s. Doctor Strange could have a perm. But it's not the 70s anymore.
Hey, Tony Stark had a perm in the 80s.
Did he have a perm in the 80s?
For at least a couple months, I think.
Okay, but then again, that was the 80s.
Yeah.
That was a thing, man. I don't think people have perms in the teens, man. I don't think that's a thing. Hipsters do a lot of things. I haven't seen a hipster with a perm, man. Although probably are lots of hipsters with a perm. Iron Fist should not be a hipster with a perm. If nothing else, that's what I'm going to say. The guy should be natural. So he has naturally curly hair. Except no, he doesn't. Anyway, so how does this permed Iron Fist play out, Phil? Tell me about it.
Well, this unpermed Iron Fist, the story starts in
Thank goodness.
Yeah. It starts in Bulgaria. Danny Rand goes to, I guess, an underground fight club. He brings a bunch of money. He said that should cover the entrance fee and then some. And the guy's like, "Where's your fighter?" He says, "You're looking at him." And he says, "What fighter do you want to take on?" And Danny says, "All of them." And proceeds to beat them all. And the guy says, "You cheat. I have no fighters left." And he's like, "You think I'm just going to let you walk away?" And Danny's like, "Yeah." And he collects his winnings. And he says, "Who are you? Why did you come here?" Danny says, "I was looking for something. Whatever it is, it's not here." And then he's on a plane. And he's thinking to himself how... Basically, it's like a quick summary of his history. And he's saying... Then they show him at another fight. He's saying he feels disconnected. All the tournaments, he's going to all these fight tournaments. He's trying to push himself, test his skills. The truth is, he's yet to be tested or to face an actual challenge. No one comes close to.
Gee, I wonder where all this is leading to.
He says he feels empty. It feels false, and I'm guessing he's losing his connection to the Iron Fist. He can't turn it on, shall we say?
Yeah, well, it does, happen to most men at one point in their life. They do lose the... Even if it's just for one night, you're going to lose the ability to... Because, your chi's just not focused enough, and you can't access the Iron Fist, It's not your fault.
And he says if he's
the person you're fighting's fault. That's the evidence. That's what this story is about. It's not Danny Rand's fault he doesn't have the Iron Fist. It's the freaking people that just can't give him a challenge.
He says he's no longer
Maybe
Iron
I read
Fist.
too much to these stories. I don't know.
Oh, don't feel bad if you can't get your chi up, gentlemen. He says he's no longer the Iron Fist. He's not the champion of Kunlun. Then who is he? Nothing. His whole life was about that, about Kunlun, everything with his parents. It can't be over. He's not ready for it to be over. So
is it just me, or is this not the first time he's not been the champion of Kunlun though?
Oh, man. That's a
whole other can of worms we're not going to talk about this issue.
Yeah. So then I guess he's drinking in a bar in Vietnam because they don't say where, but all the dialogue is translated from Vietnamese. So
hey, he could just be in Vietnam town in Chinatown. Because you have that Chinatown, and then there's within most Chinatowns there's a section that's actually a Vietnamese town, but because we're Americans and we just have a Chinatown. That's where we put people of that nature.
But yeah. So anyway, he gets challenged by a mysterious figure who actually presents him with a challenge. They're actually knocking each other around this bar. And Danny says, "Who are you?" He says, "My name is Cho Sin. I come from the island of Liu
Wait.
Shi."
His name is Chosen.
Yeah, Choshin. One word.
Okay,
Yes.
that's about as okay.
On the nose.
So Chosen has a little. I am Chosen. I am the chosen. See, it's a pun in English, which I do not speak. So that's what makes it funny.
But he says he comes from the island of Li Shi, and he offers Danny to come back with him to the island. He says, "You're invited to participate in a tournament against those whose skills are equal to your own in a place where Kung Fu is held above all else." He's like, "You can stay here if you want, keep fighting gnats, keep debasing yourself." He says, "Or you can come with me and find the answers that you seek." And the issue ends with them pulling up to the island in a boat.
Oh my goodness! I think this is an MC2 story.
Ah!
No, there was an MC2 story where J2 gets transported to an island to battle all the greatest warriors to see who was the greatest warriors, and he didn't have his juggernaut powers because he can only use them for certain periods of time. And then, of course, what happens? How does he become the champion?
Oh, I've read this, but
He learns Quack Fu from the master of Quack Fu, Howard the Duck. So yeah, watch for Howard next issue, my friend. Because even the Iron Fist is nothing before Quack Fu. Okay, moving right. Or I'm sorry. Anything else about this issue?
No.
Yeah, you thought I was triumphing the Prowler comic. Okay. No, was it a good book though? I mean, what was the drama there? Was the fighting good, interesting?
Yeah, I give it a thumbs up. I mean, I'm willing to come back and give it another shot. So.
Okay, yeah. Honestly, I wasn't opposed to reading it. It's just, I'm really trying to cull books, and it's like,
oh yeah,
taking on the Iron Fist right now. It's like, especially because it's all, like I said, it's like this sounds to me like kind of that book where you write because we got the series out, so could someone please write a book? And someone says, well, how about he does this? I says, yeah, it's fine, just write a book, So I mean, it's great. The guy gets like a lot of creative control, I imagine. But it's like how much it's going to tie into anything of importance, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know what the big revelation is going to be. Aside from, I am the Iron Fist again,
Yeah, well, I think in a couple months, I think there's another Iron Fist book coming out. Iron Fist, it's Danny teaching his young female protege.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, maybe she'll be at age at least. Okay. Oh, let's move on to my final book, Captain America Steve Rogers, number 14. Opening up with Madam Hydra with tentacles holding the skull of Captain America. And we get this very nice scene where Captain America takes out some guards. Can't see if those are supposed to be... Again, very modern armored guards. I don't know if that's again, Kobik just is playing fast and loose with time and space. I don't know. Takes out these guards. I don't know if they're supposed to be Hydra, if they're supposed to be, what was that? Strategic Scientific Reserve SSR agents or what? Or Proto Shield agents. But we see Cap come in, breaking in on Ilsa, who is so happy to see him, gives him the hug. I missed you, sweetheart. You're my little Stevie. And then we have Ilsa in the modern times with Black Ant and Taskmaster. And honestly, it is delightful. We get all these little hives coming together to be Squidward. As Ilsa talks to him, and cut back to Madripoor, we see Madam Hydra, who's now a sad little dope peddler. But, and basically what we're getting is Ilsa in her modern age collecting her new council, including Faustus, who is basically mind controlling some debutante with money, and picks up Gorgon, who is. I have no idea why his day is going badly. Honestly, I don't know why. I'm not quite sure what indignities Gorgon has suffered recently. So, and she pulls up Barnum Zola, who's tormenting Black Ant and Taskmaster because, hey, they're the cannon fodder. And Elsa is offering Zola the Cosmic Cube because, again, hey, I'm a human from Earth, so certainly the omnipotent power of a Cosmic Cube should absolutely bend to my whim exactly the way I want it to, right? That works every time. Has that ever failed? No, I don't know of a time it has.
Yes, but is she technically human, or is she a complete creation of Kobik?
Well, I mean, at this point, she's what she is. I don't know. But, whatever she thinks she is, she thinks she's human. Unless she thinks she's more than that, which honestly is usually the first step to falling down. She meets the new Kraken. I don't know who it is. He's wearing a mask. I'm going to say it's Hawkeye, just for fun. Just for fun. And she assembles her new Council of Hydra. And then we cut back to the past where Cap is like, oh man, Zola, Zemo's dead and my best friend's in jail and he hates me because his dad died because he doesn't know how to take off his own gloves.
Wait, I have a theory on Kraken. I just thought of it. They pulled this kind of stunt before, but what if it's Jack Monroe?
Oh, could be. Could Jack Monroe have become Hydra over all this time? Maybe. And again, is this the good Hydra? That's the weird thing, because she keeps on saying, when she talks to Gorgon, she makes the point that you are the spear in the East, suggesting that Hydra is the shield, because it is the shield in the East and the shield in the West and the spear in the East.
Or if it's not Jack Monroe, what if it's your buddy? What's his face? 50s Cap.
Oh, Burnside? I guess that could be the case. Maybe all the Caps are now Hydra. Again, I don't, I don't, honestly, who that, if you're going to have anyone go Hydra among the Cap lineage, my actual money would be on John Walker. John Walker was a guy who, first off, he's a follower more than a leader, which is why he was always a weaker Cap. And if there is this positive Hydra, here's the thing: and when you get into the politics of it, any fascist, there was this. I was, and I can't remember exactly which Nazi was talking about it. I want to say it was maybe Goering. Oh, it might have been Goebbels, talking about when he first met Hitler. And saying, everyone thinks about Hitler as hate, but when I first met him, all he talked about was love. Love of Germany, love of country, love of what made Germany great. That was what he talked about. And so people could come into things based on that and then realize maybe later that it wasn't what they were hoping it would be. And Kraken seems, in his disaffection, to possibly be the most noble guy among the group. We know that Madame Hydra certainly is basically looking for power. We know Faustus called out for looking for power. We know Zola simply wants to explore science. Gorgon definitely about honor and establishing himself. Oh, and did you notice, Phil? There's a seat at that table that is that does not have a seat at it. No one's sitting. Obviously, that is being held for young Stevie, who, when we do flashback, Jack Monroe would be great, but like I said, I actually think William Burnside's probably the more likely candidate if Cap is there. Although, again, I think if you want to do a big shock reveal, it would be John Walker.
But I'm just thinking maybe she she's planning ahead. So if this Steve Rogers doesn't work, she kind of has a backup Steve Rogers.
Yeah, entirely possible. But I think she knows what's going on with Steve because we flash back to the past, and Steve confronting Elisa, who we now know he did not kill, even though he's coming there to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out, first off, he is way outmatched. That she has been, dealing with the magics beyond. She is, she was asked by Chithon to be her bride, to be his bride, that she has dealt with the elder gods before. And, don't mess with me, little child. Have some tea. We then cut to Michigan, where our big dimensional shield is going up, and we realize this can hold just about everything. Faces off Hyperion, Captain Marvel, the real Captain Marvel, Blue Marvel, and a Thor. And then on top of that, it holds off against the quantum bands. I mean, the quantum bands, almost knock it down after everything else down to 60%, but even they couldn't knock it out. And then Cap decides to take it down from inside using Rick Jones. Which, again, if Rick Jones wasn't made Hydra, I don't think he's buying into this 100%. Rick Jones apparently now isn't a dumb kid anymore. He is a hacker of some note. Because, sure, it helps the story. Plot point is important for the plot. Meanwhile, Elisa basically explains to Cap, look, there is a bigger threat to the world and to Hydra. And what is the biggest threat we could ever imagine, Phil? What's the thing that's going to destroy Hydra and the world?
The Red Skull.
Dang Skippy, Phil. The Red Skull was the villain all along. Which, again, presents this idea that, and again, with the Red Skull, not thinking this through, he said, okay, make him have always been Hydra, but not realizing all of the other details you have to put into that story for him to be Hydra. He's fought you forever, Red Skull. You do understand that now he has to keep on fighting you. Red Skull only wanted the benefits of crime, not the consequences. Okay. Big thumbs up for Captain America, Steve Rogers. Honestly, it was a light week for me, but every book was just so solid. Honestly, really a great week for me. What's your last book, Phil?
All right, my pick of the week, Amazing Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows, number 5.
Oh, that guy again? The MC3, we'll call this?
Yeah.
It's basically the MC2, but a separate universe? Okay.
So it starts
Are
off...
all the heroes dead in this universe, by the way? Is this like just continuing on from the what's his name universe, right? The Regent universe.
I don't know, because once we get to the end, I'll tell you who's on the cover for next issue. There's a bunch of guest stars. So it starts off at the Parker apartment. Peter and Mary Jane are all exhausted, but Annie's bouncing around. She's like, it's family fun night. I guess every Tuesday is family fun night. So she says, let's go to Bouncy Bunny, which I guess is this universe's Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, and just as one parent to another, that's why we don't have a family fun night in my family, because you know what, kid? You get fun when the family wants fun, not just because it's Tuesday, okay? Mm-hmm. Learn to deal with sorrow, regret, and thwarted expectations. You'll be happier.
And so then, meanwhile, at I guess this universe's version of the Bar with No Name, Sandman's in there with his gang plotting a bank heist, and they're looking at all.
Sandman in charge of plotting things?
Since he's the boss, I guess him.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to get into a gang where Sandman's the boss. I'm going to really. Okay.
Yeah.
You are literally dumb as a bag of rocks.
Oh yeah, they play him up like that in this issue too. But they're looking at all the schematics and a map, and guess where the bank is located, Charlie?
It's next to the Parker's apartment.
Right next to Bouncy Bunny.
Oh, as luck would have it. I still don't. They do have banks in Iowa. That's all I'm gonna say there. you know, it's like, why do you keep on wanting to rob banks in New York when you know that superheroes live here? Just saying.
So then we go to, I guess, Osborne Industries, where young Normie's talking to one of his scientists who they found the remains of. Remember, Peter had built a drone to take pictures of himself instead of the old automatic camera. Uh, Normie saying, this was built to document Spider-Man's activities, probably from him by himself. He's telling his guy, trace down where all the components came from, and if you find any photos of a young girl with powers like his, send them to me immediately.
Bum bum bum.
Then I guess he has an interview with Betty Brant, and he's telling her thanking her for coming to his father's funeral whenever that was. She said it was a sad day. He was a complicated man, but I always considered him my friend. And Normie says, oh, that's surprising considered what you wrote about him in the Bugle. She says, I said he was complicated. She says, for example, the way he left a 10-year-old boy with absolute control over the Oscorp empire. Unusual, don't you think? And he says, depends on the boy. I am not your typical 10-year-old. I've been trained from birth to extend the Osborne legacy to a new generation. It's a burden I'm ready to shoulder.
Did Osborn mind swap himself with his own son?
Who knows? But that's Harry. So my question is, where's Norman?
Oh, that's Harry? Oh, not Normie? Okay.
Well, Harry
still.
was Harry. Well, he's talking about his father, Harry, but no one's mentioning Norman. So if anyone did a not mind swap, what if it's Norman?
Oh, wait. So Harry's the one that died?
Yeah.
So Norman as Harry's son, not Normie. Isn't Normie Norman's son?
No. Normie is Norman's grandson.
Okay, but with Alchemax in the regular universe, Normie is Norman's son, right? Or is that Harry's
no.
son with? It's so confusing. Okay, anyway, so
Normie's his son with Liz Allen. Ugh, okay,
but that's Norman's son with Liz Allen to create Normie. No, it's with Harry.
Harry. Yes.
Okay, so Harry had a child with Liz Allen, who is Normie, and this Normie is that Harry's son with Liz Allen, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Oh man, Game of Thrones time.
Yeah. So the next couple pages, we get we see scenes of the bouncy bunny at the same time. We see the bank heist, and then while she's playing, Annie gets a flash. With her superior spider sense, she actually gets a flash of Peter fighting some bad guys. She's like, it's like the same thing that happened with the Mole Man, but it's happening right now. This at the same time. She says, men breaking into the bank next door fighting you, Daddy. And he says, you two stay here. I'll check it out. And as the gangs, Sandman tears the door off the vault, and then Peter comes in and he says, can I just start with thank you? Honestly, if I had to sit through one more banjo version of the wheels on the bus go round and round, I'm pretty sure I might have hit someone. Then he's like, come to think of it, and he attacks the gang. And he's like, funny how I missed this. You get so busy saving the world, you forget how fun a simple night of crime fighting can be. An old-time punch fest with no-name goons robbing a bank. Something else I should be thanking you guys for. That's when his spider sense tingles and the Sandman comes out. Battle. That's when Mary Jane and Annie show up in costume. More battle. And then with Annie, Mary Jane, and Peter all webbing up Sandman. They web him up because Mary Jane says, I kind of remember that never working for you before. And Peter says, I didn't have a team of web spinners to help me before. And Mary Jane's like, oh, you're saying you couldn't have done it without us? And Annie jumping up and down. Best family fun night ever.
Yay.
Singing Spider Fam. Spider Fam does whatever a Spider-Man can't. But unknown to the heroes, one of Sandman's guys got away. The bank, I guess I guess that someone put Sandman up to that because they wanted something out of the vault. It was Normie.
And what did he want?
I don't think they say, but it looks like some kind of, maybe like a microchip or some kind of something technological and small like that. But they don't say what it is.
Okay.
He's like, think of it as the vast piece of a vast puzzle, and the solution will bring about the ultimate destruction of Spider-Man.
Bum.
But this was just, it was just like a fun, you know, like a classic feel Spider-Man story. Thumbs up. Oh, and remember you were asking about people? Guess who's next issue? It looks like
who?
It looks like the 90s version of the X-Men.
Ooh, why would the 90s X-Men be in? Okay, well, sure. Okay, great. Oh, unless it's X-Men 90. Oh, man. You know what? These were all parts of that battle world. Maybe the 92 X-Men got stuck in this universe.
Maybe
there's a battle world that kind of got pieced back together from all the people that were left.
There, I'm sending you a pic, so yeah, 90s X-Men.
Okay. Well, I'll go check the phone. There it is. Let's see. Bum. Storm's wearing white. Then we know what it is. Oh, look at that. Everything. Okay. Full sent me a photo. Oh, that's
Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine.
Oh, but
Professor X in the hover chair.
In the hover chair, yeah. So we got those four are definitely the cartoon X-Men from the 90s cartoon. So that is what I'm going to say about that. So yes.
More 90s nostalgia.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool.
All right, so I think that's it.
Okay, yay! Comic books, we love them.
Yes. Oh, do we ever? All right, so let's get out of here. Please share your thoughts with us, and believe it or not, there are books we don't cover. If you would like to cover those for us, email marvelroundup@gmail.com. Facebook is facebook.com/allnewmarvelroundup. Twitter is @marvel_roundup. And even follow us on Instagram, Marvel Roundup. And Charlie, where can the people find you?
You can always follow me on the Twitters @CharlieEsser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for 2 E's in the middle for quality. And write to me on that email superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com.
And as for me, you can always get a hold of me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am @nightwingpdp. Check out on the DC side, we have Before the Bat, Legends of DC, Channel 52, and right here, all your Marvel needs are met on Nuff Said. This fine program, Super Connectivity, Wade's World, and the brand new Ironcast. So if you want a in-depth review of the Iron Fist Netflix series, check out Ironcast with Charlie Esser and Moz Manzoor.
It's not as bad as they say.
I listened to the first episode today, and I was thoroughly entertained.
Yeah, well, honestly, the podcast is great. This series is actually pretty good, too. I actually do like it. Like I said, I've only watched a little bit of it so far. I mostly think they need to get a good director in that. I think that, honestly, I think it's a solid piece. It's, it's a classic comic book punch 'em up, and that's good.
And here Charlie wax poetic about Eastern philosophy.
What is the sound of one hand punching?
Ask a hospital door. All right, I think that's enough for tonight. All right, everyone, join us next week. More fun and hijinks, and go home, get some rest, enjoy your 90s nostalgia, take it easy. So hopefully your chi will be back up tomorrow. Good night.